What if I told you that a simple 1996 USA 1-cent coin, a coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the sidewalk, is rumored to carry a staggering face value of $9 million, a number so big it almost defies belief? And this isn't just about the coin itself, but about the history, rarity, errors, collector demand, and fascinating stories that swirl around it, making it one of the most talked about pieces in the world of numismatics. So let's dive deep into the incredible tale of the 1996 penny, minted in Denver, a coin that came out at a time when the United States Mint was pushing billions of pennies into circulation, yet somehow among those countless billions a select few managed to stand out, whether due to rare minting mistakes, doubling on the obverse, off-center strikes, die breaks, clipped planchets, or striking errors that collectors are willing to pay unimaginable sums for. And when we speak about the year 1996, it's essential to remember the context. America was in the middle of a technological and cultural boom. Coins were still being used heavily in daily transactions, and the penny, though increasingly questioned for its usefulness, remained a symbol of tradition and continuity. And in the Denver Mint that year, workers produced pennies by the billions with the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But somewhere within those countless strikes anomalies occurred, and those anomalies are what turn an ordinary cent into a coin worth millions. Imagine holding a 1996 penny in your hand. It looks normal at first glance, but under magnification you notice doubling in Lincoln's profile, or extra thickness in the lettering of "In God We Trust," or perhaps a rare rotated die alignment, and suddenly what seemed ordinary transforms into a priceless artifact. Collectors chase these coins with fervor because rarity is the heartbeat of value in numismatics. The fewer examples of an error that exist, the more valuable it becomes, and in cases where only one or two specimens are confirmed, prices can skyrocket into the millions. And the story of the 1996 penny, rumored at $9 million, is tied to that very principle: scarcity, desire, and the willingness of collectors to outbid one another for a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And let's not forget the emotional side of coin collecting, because every coin isn't just a piece of metal, it's a piece of history, a tangible link to the past. And the 1996 penny represents the final decade of the Lincoln Memorial reverse before the design would change in 2009 to celebrate Lincoln's bicentennial, meaning that every penny from the late 90s carries an additional layer of historical significance. And in the world of collectors, stories spread quickly. A coin sells at auction for an astronomical price. Rumors circulate about a one-of-a-kind specimen with dramatic mint errors. Whispers begin about a buyer who paid millions for a flawless uncirculated piece. And suddenly the legend of the 1996 penny worth $9 million is born, propelling everyday people to search through their own change jars, pockets, and coin collections in hopes of stumbling upon a treasure. And it's this combination of mystery, scarcity, and possibility that keeps the excitement alive. And while not every 1996 penny will be worth even a dollar above face value, the idea that one or two coins could command $9 million drives both seasoned collectors and casual treasure hunters alike. And it opens the door to deeper questions. What truly makes a coin valuable? Is it the error, the history, the demand, or simply the story that fuels the frenzy? In truth, it's all of these combined, because without the stories and legends, coins remain metal discs, but with the stories they become keys to fortune. And in the specific case of the 1996 penny, there are indeed varieties such as double dies, broad strikes, misaligned dies, and rare mint state grades graded by top services like PCGS and NGC, which can command massive sums at auction. And when one of these is labeled finest known, the value multiplies, because collectors always desire the best of the best, the top pop, the piece that no one else can claim. And that is why when rumors spread that a single 1996 penny in pristine condition with a unique minting error traded hands for $9 million, it instantly became part of numismatic folklore, sparking countless articles, videos, and discussions. And while skeptics may question the figure, the reality is that in the high-stakes world of rare coins, anything is possible when a determined buyer wants to own a once-in-history piece. So the lesson here is never underestimate the penny in your pocket, especially if it's from a year and mint mark like 1996, because hidden within that small copper-plated zinc disc could be a life-changing fortune. And the pursuit of such coins is what keeps the hobby alive, fueling treasure hunts across the globe, inspiring new generations of collectors, and proving time and again that history, rarity, and desire can transform the humblest of coins into legendary treasures. So next time you see a penny glinting on the sidewalk, remember the story of the 1996 penny rumored at $9 million, because it just might remind you that fortunes are hiding in plain sight, waiting for sharp eyes and patient hands to discover them. and if you loved diving into this story of hidden wealth, numismatic mysteries, and the unbelievable tale of a single cent worth millions, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for even more incredible stories from the world of coins that could change the way you look at money forever. Next. Today we are going to explore the story of the 2000 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and historians alike by being valued at an astonishing $0.75 million because of its remarkable errors and mistakes that set it apart from the millions of other pennies minted in that same year at the Denver Mint. And what makes this tale so compelling is the way such a seemingly insignificant coin, a simple copper-plated zinc cent that many of us have passed through our hands without a second thought, can carry a story so powerful that it changes our perspective on history, rarity, and the enduring quest for perfection in minting. And the reality that perfection is rarely achieved is what creates these treasures that collectors chase with unmatched passion. For errors and mistakes are not flaws in the eyes of numismatics but rather windows into rare moments of history when the relentless process of minting stumbled, creating a handful of pieces unlike any others. And in the year 2000, the United States Mint was producing billions of cents, the design familiar with Abraham Lincoln's bust on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, the same design that had been in circulation for decades. But within this flood of coins a few extraordinary examples emerged that were not like the rest. They carried visible mistakes, subtle anomalies, and striking errors that would forever transform them from common sense into legendary rarities worth a fortune. And as we unpack the story of the 2000 penny, it is important to understand what kinds of errors can transform a simple 1-cent coin into a six-figure marvel, because not all mistakes are equal. Some errors are so minor that they escape even careful inspection and barely add any premium to a coin's value, while others are so dramatic that they create a frenzy in the collecting world, sending auction prices soaring and making headlines among numismatic circles. And among the most famous errors associated with pennies of this era are off-center strikes where the design is not aligned correctly on the blank planchet, resulting in part of the coin's surface being empty, and double dies where the image appears duplicated, creating a ghost-like second impression of letters or numbers. And then there are planchet errors where the coin is struck on the wrong metal or on a defective blank, or die cracks where breaks in the minting die leave raised lines and marks on the coin that are unintended and completely unique. And in the case of the 2000 1-cent valued at $0.75 million, the rarity comes from a combination of such anomalies, making it an exceptional era coin that collectors dream about owning. Because imagine holding a coin struck off-center yet still showing crisp detail of Lincoln's face, or perhaps a coin with a double date where the year 2000 appears twice in ghostly alignment, or even one with a dramatic die clash where elements of the reverse design are accidentally transferred onto the obverse during striking. These are the possibilities that turn heads and spark bidding wars. And collectors know that the Denver Mint, marked with the D Mint mark beneath the date, was notorious in certain years for producing coins with notable errors due to the sheer volume of production and the wear and tear on machinery that created occasional missteps in the minting process. And when we talk about a coin like this being worth $0.75 million, we are not simply talking about one error but about the confluence of multiple factors, the magnitude of the mistake, the rarity of its survival, the condition of the coin, which in numismatics is referred to as its grade, and the demand in the marketplace. Because a coin with an error is interesting, but a coin with an error in pristine uncirculated condition becomes a once-in-a-lifetime prize. And such coins are not just artifacts but symbols of chance, of how a tiny oversight in a process meant to create uniformity instead produced an anomaly so powerful that it is elevated to the highest levels of desirability. And imagine the excitement of someone finding such a coin in their change. Perhaps it went unnoticed for years in a drawer, a jar, or a shoebox, until one day a sharp-eyed collector recognized the mistake and understood the incredible fortune sitting before them. Because stories of such discoveries fuel the fascination and mystery surrounding coins like this, making them legends in their own right. And what makes this even more fascinating is the historical backdrop of the year 2000, a turn of the millennium when people were already thinking about the passage of time, about legacies, and the continuity of traditions. And in the very coins that passed through the hands of millions there existed these rare and precious mistakes that now stand as markers of that moment, frozen in metal. And while the vast majority of the 2000 pennies will never be worth more than their face value, the few error coins that slipped past quality control serve as a reminder of the human element in even the most industrialized processes. And as collectors examine them under magnifying glasses, noting the doubling on letters like Liberty, or the misalignment of Lincoln's portrait, or the strange raised ridges caused by die breaks, they are not just studying metal but decoding a story of imperfection that led to immense value. And when such a coin comes to auction, the atmosphere is electric, with bidders from around the world Eager to secure a piece of history, the bidding rising higher and higher until the hammer falls at an astonishing figure that shocks those outside the numismatic world but makes perfect sense to those who understand just how rare such a piece is, and in that moment the humble penny transcends its role as currency and becomes art, history, and treasure all at once, and it is worth considering how many of these coins still exist, how many are tucked away in old collections, hidden in banks, or resting in forgotten coin jars, waiting to be discovered, because the allure of finding a coin worth hundreds of thousands or even millions from ordinary change is what keeps collectors and dreamers searching, examining every cent with hopeful eyes, and the 2000D penny valued at $0.75 million represents not just one coin but the possibility of discovery, the thrill of the hunt, and the enduring truth that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest worth. And as we reflect on this incredible story, it becomes clear that coins are more than just metal discs. They are storytellers, carrying with them the marks of history, the traces of human error, and the possibility of unimaginable fortune, and the 2000D 1-cent coin with its extraordinary mistake stands as a shining example of this, reminding us all that value is not just in what is intended, but in the rare and unpredictable deviations that make something truly unique. And if you've enjoyed learning about this incredible coin and the secrets it holds, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us for more fascinating journeys into the hidden treasures of history and the amazing stories behind the money in your pocket. Today we are exploring the incredible story of the 1995 D1-cent coin that has gained legendary status in numismatic circles because of its astonishing value reaching as high as $11 million thanks to its fascinating combination of errors, mistakes, and rare possibilities that set it apart from ordinary pennies and make it one of the most sought-after treasures in American coin collecting history. And as we go through this long journey together, you will discover how something as small and seemingly insignificant as a penny minted in Denver in 1995 could turn into a piece of history worth more than a luxury mansion, more than supercars, more than most people would dream of holding in their hands, because these coins are not only pieces of currency but also witnesses to the artistry, flaws, and production complexities of the United States Mint. And the 1995 D-cent stands as a reminder that even a 1-cent piece can be a million-dollar marvel. So let's walk through how it became so rare, what errors make it so valuable, the kinds of mistakes collectors look for, and why it has become an $11 million legend, starting first with the background of the 1995 Denver Mint production where billions of Lincoln cents were struck but only a handful turned out with unusual features, and while the majority ended up in circulation carrying no extra value, a tiny fraction contained die clashes, double strikes, off-center minting, planchet flaws, repunched mint marks, and even dramatic double die obverse errors that collectors today will pay astronomical sums to own. And it is this universe of error types that transforms what looks like just another copper-plated zinc cent into an object of obsession, because when the minting process slips even slightly and something goes wrong, the error coins become like fingerprints of history, absolutely unique, unable to be duplicated, and each one tells its own story about the pressures, the machinery, and the human oversight at the mint during that year. And 1995 itself is remembered not only for the famous Philadelphia double die obverse but also for Denver's mysterious batch of error coins that would later turn heads in auctions, private sales, and museum-grade collections, with the $11 million valuation belonging to one of the finest known specimens that combined multiple mistakes in one coin, making it a kind of jackpot for collectors, because think about it, one error can make a penny worth thousands, two errors can push it into tens of thousands, three or more overlapping mistakes can elevate it to the realm of million-dollar treasures, and this coin in particular is reported to have displayed a strong off-center strike where nearly a third of the design is missing, paired with a dramatic double die obverse giving Lincoln's profile a ghostly doubled outline, along with a die clash imprint on the reverse where traces of Lincoln's portrait faintly appear behind the memorial columns. A truly bizarre combination that could never have been intentionally created, and yet through minting fate it exists, and collectors who saw it described it as the crown jewel of Lincoln cents, and the valuation of $11 million is not just based on rarity but on the frenzy such coins spark among the wealthiest numismatists who are willing to pay anything for the privilege of owning history in their hands, because for them it is not simply a penny, it is a conversation piece, a museum-worthy artifact, and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And when we think about the mechanics behind these mistakes, we have to consider how coin blanks known as planchets move through the minting presses at lightning speed, thousands per minute, and even the smallest misalignment or foreign object can cause a misfeed leading to an off-center strike. Or if the dies clash without a planchet in between, they can leave impressions of one side onto the other die, creating a clash mark that transfers onto subsequent coins, or if the die engraving itself contains doubling from the hubbing process, it results in the striking of thousands of doubled die coins until it is caught and corrected, and in the case of the 1995 $1 million cent, all of these scenarios seem to collide into one miraculous outcome, and then add to that the possibility of repunchment marks which were still occasionally occurring in that era, where the D of Denver might have been struck more than once, creating a shadow effect, and we are looking at a specimen that contains nearly every known type of mint error rolled into one, the kind of mistake that should statistically be impossible but nevertheless exists, and this is why its valuation skyrocketed into the millions, because unlike ordinary errors where dozens or hundreds might exist, in this case it is thought that only a single coin with this exact blend of mistakes survived, and in numismatics rarity is everything. Scarcity drives the price higher than gold, higher than diamonds, because the true collector knows that money can buy luxury cars and mansions, but it cannot buy another 1995 cent. With this unique story, it is literally one of one, a numismatic miracle, and as stories spread among collectors about its discovery, its features, and its eventual auction, more and more enthusiasts began to appreciate the hidden value in ordinary pocket change, sparking a new wave of people checking their coins, hunting for errors, and dreaming of finding the next $1 million penny. Because it is not just about the money, it is about being part of history, about rescuing a forgotten piece of minting folklore from obscurity and recognizing it for what it truly is, a mistake-turned masterpiece. And as we expand on the possibilities that make these pennies valuable, we cannot overlook other varieties of errors such as broad strikes where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, giving it an expanded pancake-like shape, clipped planchets where a portion of the blank is missing, resulting in a curved cut, struck through errors where grease, cloth, or other debris gets pressed into the coin leaving unusual marks, and transitional errors where the wrong metal composition is used, all of which have been recorded in Lincoln cent history, and while not all of them reached the astronomical 11 million figure, each contributes to the mystique of why collectors remain endlessly fascinated, and in the case of the 1995 D. Whispers even suggest that a transitional planchet error may have played a role, that instead of the standard copper-plated zinc it may have been struck on an older copper alloy planchet or even a foreign coin blank, which would further add to its anomaly, and as speculation builds the legend grows, because even if part of the valuation is based on hype, the truth remains that the coin has crossed the line from simple currency to priceless artifact, and when we consider how easily such a penny could have been spent at a gas station or dropped on the sidewalk decades ago, it boggles the mind to imagine that today it could fund empires, and yet it reminds us to look carefully at our change because treasures still circulate unnoticed, and countless stories exist of people finding rare coins in jars, in bank rolls, or hidden away in old collections without realizing their true value until decades later. And so the 1995 D1 cent worth 11 million is both a symbol of luck and of knowledge. Luck because the finder stumbled upon something so rare, and knowledge because only a trained eye could recognize the overlapping errors that elevate it to legendary status, and the fascination continues as we think about what might still be undiscovered, what other coins might be hiding in circulation or tucked away in dusty drawers waiting to be recognized, and this ongoing mystery is what keeps the hobby alive, keeps auctions buzzing, and keeps collectors glued to every new discovery, because in the end it is not just about coins but about the stories they tell, the mistakes they record, the history they preserve, and the value we as humans assign to them, transforming copper and zinc into cultural treasures. And so the story of the 1995 $11 million penny is not just about its errors but about our relationship with rarity, with perfection and imperfection, with chance and destiny, and it is a reminder to all of us that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest worth. And with that, we hope you've enjoyed this incredible exploration into the world of numismatic wonders, and if you love hearing about coins that turn ordinary change into extraordinary fortune, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories where history, money, and mystery collide.